Stafford. And Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin had some thoughts about his NFC North rivals trading quarterback Joe Flacco within the division ahead of their matchup on Thursday night with Cincinnati. Here's what he said.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
I mean, Dan, when the trade happened, we kind of said something similar, right? Does he have a point?
He absolutely has a point. I don't know if I've ever heard a coach come out and say it in that way. You know, we've often had hypothetical trade conversations on this show, and we'll throw out Micah Parsons going to the Washington Commanders, and everyone's like, well, they would never do that because it's in the division. But I've never heard a coach be like, oh, that was not a smart interdivision or NFL or competitive football decision. So hats off to Mike Tomlin. I think he has a point totally, but the Browns did what the Browns wanted to do.
Yeah. Mina?
I mean, I think if you gave Mike Tomlin truth serum, he would admit that he has zero fear of facing Joe Flacco, which is why the Browns traded him. He was 32nd in QBR. He was playing incredibly poorly in Cleveland. Anytime you can trade a quarterback who is statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL and get draft capital, you do it. I don't care who your competition is. I do not think they made the Bengals better, but I understand people feel some kind of way about interdivision trades, and it's not a common practice. I do not believe that the Browns deserve much criticism, though, for doing it in this particular case, given the way the player was playing.
Let Joe Flacco keep the Bengals afloat. Burrow come back, and Mike Tomlin's going to be like,
all right, we'll check back in on that.
Told you.
Okay. New on NFL Live, Aaron Rodgers talks about facing another quarterback over 40 and Joe Flacco on Thursday.
Great for all the old guys, you know. I know that when I watch other sports, maybe it's because I'm the older guy, but I tend to pull for the older guys to win championships. I've been friends with Steph for a long time. Steph is one of the older guys in the NBA now. So anytime the Warriors are playing, I'm always pulling for Steph to ball out for them to win. But it's great.
Battle of the old guys. Rodgers and company starting to roll, though, by the way, as they head into this Thursday matchup with the Bengals. Mina, what are you seeing from this Pittsburgh offense that's helping them have success?
I think the offense is exactly what Arthur Smith dreamed it would be this offseason, this last week. You put heavy bodies on the field, you run the ball, you play action off of it, and they didn't run extremely well. They ran better the prior week, but they ran well enough to the point where Cleveland consistently sold out to stop it, so they had one-on-ones on the outside. That, to me, Dan, is a viable formula for this Steelers team. They're not going to throw it all over the yard. Rodgers hit on a couple of deep balls in this one, which was a difference for him. But if they can continue running the ball well out of those heavy formations, hitting some play action shots, I do think that they can move the ball well enough, coupled with the defense playing better.
I really like this offense right now in Pittsburgh. It's an offense that I look forward to watching each week because of the newness and the wrinkles that get added to it. I could break their offense down into three categories. Number one, the 6 offensive line and 1 and/or 2 tight end grouping. We've seen this start a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh. The thing is, they're adding to it. They're putting more plays into that grouping. When it first started, it was really just one play. 6 different ways they did it last week where 6 offensive linemen, tight end, get the quarterback on the move. There's play action. That was the first play of the game. Love that Arthur Smith comes out and does that. 6 offensive linemen with motion, weak zone. Okay, so that's the second play in this 6 offensive lineman group. 6 offensive linemen, same motion, a little bit of weak zone, but just pitch. Really nice cut by the back here. So that's 3 plays in this grouping. Now that same similar motion, shotgun, ball fake, perimeter screen. There's 4 plays out of that same offensive personnel grouping. There's that motion. Now they really go with a pass concept to the bottom of the screen. And I love this. They're taking that 6th offensive lineman and treating it as a swing screen out in front of the back as a check down and then the jet sweep. That's 6 different plays that they have out of that offensive, or the 6 offensive linemen and double tight end grouping. I love that out of Pittsburgh.
One of my favorite things every week, it's 6 offensive linemen, but it's really 7. Because Darnell Washington, the tight end, and every week, reliably, the defense just completely forgets to cover him altogether. Yeah. And he got a big play in this one early in the game. But I'm telling you, every week, because he is such a dominant blocker and he is part of what Dan is describing, he is completely forgotten. The Steelers are going to keep doing that.
I love it. You know what old guy quarterbacks really don't like is getting pressured. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, was not pressured in any of his 11 second-half dropbacks in Sunday's win over the Browns. Thinking about the Myles Garrett's on the other side, I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
It's part of that category. The 6 offensive line stuff helps them run them, but then they move them. So that's a big part of it. And then it's either quick game or DK one-on-one. And that's kind of the 3 groupings of their offensive line or their offensive scheme.
I love how excited we are to talk about these Steelers. All right, let's bring Graz back in for some more top stories. Graz, let's kick it off in Tennessee. What's going on there?
Well, they fired the head coach yesterday, Brian Callahan, after just 23 games. They elevated Mike McCoy, the former Chargers head coach, who's been an offensive assistant there in Tennessee the last couple of years. He'll be the interim head coach for the rest of the year, and then they'll get to work in the offseason on finding the full-time replacement who will be charged with shepherding Cam Ward through the early stages of his development. But Brian Callahan, who thought he was going to get that chance, will not. Speaking of young quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, the hope is to get him back on the practice field this week and in line to start coming off the bye. Problem is, we don't know if he's fully healthy yet. We don't know if Carson Wentz is fully healthy. He got banged up ahead of the bye. So what the Vikings are saying now is they have to see who's healthy and make a decision about who can play. If everyone's healthy, they still plan to go back to J.J. McCarthy. The Kansas City Chiefs
Unanswered points in the second to take it. But Puka Nacua sprained his ankles now day to day as they head to play the Jags in London on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on that. Dan, with Puka banged up, do you have concerns for this Rams offense if he misses more time? He's so crucial to what they do.
I do. Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams still aren't on the page that they should be on and on the same page, whether Puka's healthy or not. This is a team that has hopes and aspirations and talent to win the Super Bowl, but until their quarterback and receiver get on the same page and see the defenses the right way or the same way at the same time, this pass game is still going to be, as good as it is, still Puka-centric. Sometimes Devontae gets open, Matthew misses them, specifically down in the red zone. Sometimes Matthew, sees vacated zones or whatnot, and Devontae's maybe just a step behind and there's a drop or two. And so I think that connection has to figure out why it's not clicking the way many of us expected it to be.
Completely agree. I also wonder if Sean McVay needs to consider, I wouldn't say reinventing, that's a little strong, but fundamentally changing the nature of this offense in Nacua's absence. They have players on the roster who can, I won't say fill the Nacua role, but can do many of the things he does. Jordan Whittington is sort of that physical wide receiver who can block. Puka's almost like a half hybrid receiver tight end. But I don't think that means they're going to be putting their best players on the field if they go that route. And I wonder, Dan, if they should consider leaning more into 12 personnel. This has been primarily an 11 personnel team. In the second round, they drafted a tight end, Terrence Ferguson, out of Oregon, called a preseason game. You saw how explosive he was. He was catching like slot fades downfield. Then he's been in this offense, I think, because McVay places so much emphasis on, having players on the field who can block and always having run-pass conflict. But he might be the most explosive option they've got at the tight end position. And I do wonder if you're Sean McVay, instead of just trying to replicate what you did with Nacua, if you consider changing the nature of what you do in the passing attack to get different players on the field.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the 12 thing. Then you live in a world, again, where there's a Puka or no Puka. I'm living in that Puka is going to be a part of these conversations. Again, this is a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. If you live in 12, right. I would argue that you're not very vertically fast. There's not a lot of vertical stretch because it's Puka and Devontae.
This guy is fast, though.
Ferg is, but you know what I'm talking, you're not Tutu Atwell. You would make the claim that you want him to be on the field just because of his vertical speed. Yeah. And Mina, I know we've talked about this as well. You watch their tape and all I write down often is, this is a good, efficient run. This is a good, efficient run. 2 or 3 of them happened last week where they were explosive, but it's still, the explosives are still very one-sided and only pass game centric.
It's really interesting. And by the way, Nacua is getting 32% of the Rams targets this season, and that's good for 5th highest rate of any player in the NFL. That's how much they've relied on him. But
Devontae and Matthew have to figure it out.
That would change the way we look at this, right?
Totally.
Look out for Ferguson, though. Tell us, Mina.
Talented.
All right, coming up, it's a battle of the old guy quarterbacks. Oh, my goodness.